Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Pat, I'm not sure that we are on YouTube. Is anybody watching this on YouTube? Could you put something in the chat function to let us know that you can see this on YouTube? Because I'm not getting anything on mine.
It says here I'm doing live stream.
Is anybody seeing it live streamed on YouTube? And Jeff Torton says it's not there. So I don't think we're live streaming, Pat, Tom, on YouTube.
I would continue with the show, and we can post the show later, is all we can do right now.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really do appreciate it. Hope you'll come. And Pat, could you spotlight me? We hope that you'll come back often and tell your friends about us. Before we start the show, I want to introduce Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters.
O God, as we create in miniature the world around us, may we marvel at the beauty and genius which created the world and instilled in us a portion of your great knowledge and wisdom. Give success to the work of our hands, O God. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father, for everything that you do for our show. We really do appreciate it. Now I want to run the Dennis Brennan's Model Railroading sponsor video.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wanky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Well, next I want to talk just a moment about the upcoming My Builds. We have one tonight, and the focus is on harvest. The next one after that is September the 18th, and the one after that is the 16th of October. So if you're going to participate in either one of those are the two dates that you need to keep in mind. And tonight we, as I say, Chris is not going to be here, but Greg Cassidy is going to host the My Build for this evening. The newsletter is going very, very well. Martin has finished the September issue and is waiting to publish it. Last count, I think we're almost at 50, if not more than 50 pages in that newsletter. And I think that's wonderful because we're getting a lot of comments from you, and we're trying to include everything that we possibly can in the newsletter because that's what it's about. It's about information that you feel that we should pass along. And that's what we're trying to do. And we've got a great deal of thanks for Martin Breckbill's MMR capabilities as our editor, because he's doing one fantastic job on producing that newsletter. And again, if you have something that you'd like to see in the newsletter, please send it to Martin, and he will shoehorn it in somewhere along the line. He keeps sending me emails saying, well, let me see if I can't shoehorn this in here, or should he shoehorn this in there? So far, he's been able to do it all. And thank you so much for what you do, Martin. We really appreciate it. The scholarship. We started our fundraising for this year. We had an anonymous donor provide a challenge amount of $500. And he gave us 3 weeks to match that $500. Well, 1 week has gone by, and we have successfully matched $10 of the $500, which is not getting us where we need to be. So I think it's wonderful that we have an anonymous donor who donated $500 if we can find matches for the $500. But we desperately now are in search of matches, regardless of the amount, in order to get as close as we can, if not the whole amount of the $500. And we right now have this week and next week in order to achieve that, in order to get his $500 match. So if you can see your way clear to contribute $1, and if we could put the slide back up, please. If you can see your way clear to contribute $1 or $2 or $5 or $20 or whatever, here is a slide. And as soon as we enlarge it, there it is. If you just will hit that QR code, you'll go to Zeffy, and 100% of whatever is donated to Zeffy goes to our scholarship fund. They don't charge us anything. We don't take expenses out of it. 100% goes to the scholarship. Now, you have to be careful with Zeffy, because when you first go to Zeffy and enter the amount you want to contribute to the scholarship, make sure that that is all you are paying to Zeffy. And you need to read carefully the back end of Zeffy, because I had one modeler last week tell me that he had to supposedly pay more money to Zeffy in order to make a contribution. No, you don't. You can, if you want to, and Zeffy, I'm sure, would appreciate your donation, but you do not have to. All you have to do is go to Zeffy and make the one contribution to New Tracks Modeling's Mentoring Scholarship, and 100% of that money goes to that scholarship. You're not required to provide any additional funding to Zeffy. So if you don't want to provide the additional funding, just make sure that you check the right boxes as you exit Zeffy, so that you're not charged with additional funds for Zeffy. But we desperately are looking for $490 now between this week and next week in order to match the $500 challenge grant that we have for our scholarship. And anybody that can contribute a little bit here and there, we certainly would appreciate it, because we don't want to lose that $1,000, the $500 match and the $500 that would be used to match it. So if you have any questions, my email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. Just send me an email if you have any questions about this at all, and I'll be glad to help you through this. But I just hate to see us lose that $500. I know times are tough. I know everybody is not able to afford the hobby as we used to, and I totally appreciate that. But at the same time, maybe we can give $1 or $2 here or there to help the kids' scholarship fund. So with that said, let me start the program. S-Scale Modeling. This is sponsored by the National Association of S-Gaugers. They just recently had their convention, and I understand it was highly successful. So here is their video.
Are you looking for something a little different in your model railroading? The National Association of S-Gaugers suggests you take a look at S-Scale. An S-Scale model is just 36% longer than an HO model, but it's 2.5 times the volume. The larger size translates to increased ease of maintenance, more durable details, and improved electrical and mechanical reliability. S-scale modelers use accurately proportioned wheels and track systems with KD-style couplers. Exceptional S-scale models and layouts are being built in both standard and narrow gauge. Locomotives and rolling stock are available from a number of manufacturers in both ready-to-run and kit form. Equipment is available both new and through an active secondary market. There are numerous manufacturers of track, buildings, vehicles, and details, both ready to run and in kit form, available for those who love to build. And many S modelers enjoy kit bashing and scratch building in the larger size S offers. To learn more, visit the website of the National Association of S-Gaugers. Here you will find the history of the scale, information about clubs in your area, see layouts and connect with current manufacturers and online groups, plus much more. In short, the website has everything you'll need to explore model railroading in S-scale today. Come on board and visit soon.
And the host for this segment is Jamie Bothwell. And the reason that I know that they just had a successful convention is Jamie Bothwell was the convention chairman, and he told me how hard he's been working all that time to make the convention successful. So Jamie, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Well, I figured I would show you what the convention looked like. I give you a little convention recap. So how about that? So see what we got going here. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay, so I'm hoping you're seeing that. And we'll just go to view, slideshow. Okay, so is that looking good? It's looking good on my computer.
Harrisburg 2024.
There you go. Okay. So the first thing we did was we took a tour of the Stewartstown Railroad, which is a little short line almost on the Maryland-Pennsylvania border. So some of us went down there and rode that. Got towed around by the Mighty Mo here. That's kind of what their track looks like. Again, our president, Jim Whipple, took these photos. We also ran a trip through the Amish country, but nobody submitted any pictures of that, so I can't show you any. Not a lot of railroad stuff going on there anyway. On Thursday, we chartered these two RDCs and toured the Blue Mountain and Reading and Blue Mountain Northern. And so that also included a shop tour. Right. So a number of folks got to wander around and look at, they've got a couple of steam engines in the shop and whatever else they've got, quite a few things that they're working on. Here's the crew of smiling faces. That guy in the red shirt kneeling down in the front is Roger Gerhardt. He's responsible for this trip. He basically planned the whole thing, talked to the railroad, found a restaurant to get food, and then everything else. So he was the man. Let's see, we had some layouts on display. So this is the Southeastern Michigan's S-gauge layout. This is a Jeff Madden photo of work by Ron King, a gentleman named Ron King, who's kind of a rubber gauger, but he builds nice models. So he had a whole New York Central passenger train behind these two PAs. Very nice. Actually took some prizes home in the model contest. So this is the Pittsburgh S-gaugers layout. This is a little display layout that they've got. It's I think you're looking at about a 6-foot leg of it, and it goes about 8 or 10 feet the other way to the right there. You can see that it includes both narrow gauge and standard gauge, so to kind of show off what S-scale has to offer. This layout is built by a guy named Willie Monahan. He lives down in New Orleans. This layout did not exist last year. At last year's convention, Willie says, wow, you guys really need a layout. I'm going to go home and build one. So he did, and he brought it back. Of course, he's building the home layout, so he had all the equipment. Willie's an architect. You can see that from his lovely buildings. So, a couple of interesting product announcements. This is from Ben Central, a guy up in Minnesota, Ben Trousdale. He is 3D printing these covered hoppers. He's got a whole couple more. I think he's got some more in the works, but anyway, some kind of Pullman standard hopper, and then that's a 2-bay air slide. So again, exciting news. Also 3D printed model is the Miniatures from the North. My friend Simone Perrant out of Montreal currently, and he's 3D printed this tank car, and they're available or going to be available, I guess. So. This is also a 3D printed model, although this was a model in the contest. This is a helium tank car, and for the life of me, I forget the name of the company that made it. I should have looked it up, and I don't even remember who built this model, but this was entered in the model contest. So it's both a new product and a model contest photo. A couple other model contest photos. This is one of my club mates, this is Buff Buffington's structure. I forget exactly what structure it was, but he built all that up. This is a guy named Dr. James Soberman. He scratch built this Virginia and Western flat car. And he won, well, first place in Master Craftsman Freight Car, and I believe it was also best in class Master Craftsman for his freight car modeling efforts. This is Hugh Sinn's Northampton and Bath boxcar. This is also a miniatures from the North kit, although I believe these are sold out at the moment. Now they oh, what was I going to say? So anyway, he built this up. Hugh, I was going to say I believe he won an award for this one. I think this might have been first place in Craftsman freight cars. This is a Frank Tittman built locomotive. We had a display of Frank Tittman locomotives and cars. So all these cars in the background you see were also built by Frank Tittman. Frank Tittman was a relatively famous S-scaler. He was a member of my club, and I considered him to be a good friend. If you win the best in show in the model contest in the NASG convention, you win the Frank Tittman Award. So that's the award for best in show of the model contest is named for Frank Tittman. So, you know, his locomotives that he built over the years have been turning up here and there, and a couple of guys got together and said, hey, let's put on a display of his locomotives. So there were 6 or 8 of them out there. I actually own one myself that I contributed to the display. So, and these are our convention cars, which are still available. So you could go to the NASG.org website and buy one of these convention cars because we have a couple left. So we sold out of the red ones because we didn't get as many. So we had a few more red ones made. So there are some red ones, I believe, available. And there are certainly green ones available. So if you're interested, go get one. And that's pretty much what I got. So we had a great time. As Jim said, it was a great convention. Everybody had positive comments, and the convention committee is working diligently on securing a venue for next year. I'm not at liberty to discuss it any further than that at this time, but hopefully there'll be an announcement very soon.
Are you going to be the chairman next year?
I don't know if I would be considered the chairman. I'm certainly helping put it on. How about that?
That works.
So.
Who made and how much are your cars?
The cars are American Models box cars, and I believe they're $65 including postage.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. And if somebody wanted one, where do they send where do they get information, Jim?
if you go to the NASG.org, the website that's in the email that you got for the show, and also you know, again, you could, it was on, you just posted it up on your little video there that, you know, when they show the NASG video, the NASG.org anyway. So you go there and then one of the buttons is the shop or something to that, the store. I think they call it the store. And then one of the choices in the store is freight cars. And so when you go to that segment, you can order one there. So.
Gotcha. Anybody have any questions for Jamie? Jamie, thank you so very much. Did you win the contest by any chance?
No, I didn't. I didn't enter anything this year, really. So yeah, I one of these days I'll start building models again. Stop promoting conventions and build models. So.
I understand. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Sure. Good night.
Well, now I want to go to S-scale high rail modeling. And we have the lady who owns American Models, Karen Bashiba, here with us this evening. Karen, welcome. Is Karen not here?
Karen is not here.
Okay. Then let me go to the video that we've had produced for American Models.
American Models, manufacturers of quality S-scale equipment for more than 40 years. We have 13 types of locomotive: the Alco FA2 freight engine, the Alco PA1 passenger diesel, RS3 and RS11 road switchers, EMD, FP7, GP9 R18, GP35, E8 passenger engines, and Amtrak F40 PH diesels, the Baldwin S12 switcher, Fairbanks Morris Trainmaster, and the GE U25B. And of course, the classic GG1 electric. We also manufacture 11 types of freight cars, 2 styles of caboose, and heavyweight and Bud streamlined passenger cars. We have our own line of track and roadbed. We provide parts and service for everything we sell. Check us out at AmericanModels.com or call us at 734-449-1100.
Well, that's great video that we have of American Models. And I want to introduce the person who developed that for Karen, Chris Reifert. Chris, welcome.
Hello there, Jim, and everybody else.
And I've asked Chris to give us a little information about how he does. He does this professionally for many years, and I thought it would be good for him to talk about how he goes about producing a video, because I know a lot of you would like to do videos and maybe thinking about doing one, but having trouble trying to figure out how to do it. So, Chris, if you could give us a little guidance.
Well, the most important thing to me is having a decent computer and software. I've custom built my own workstation with triple screens, and I use the Pinnacle Studio line of software, and they're constantly upgrading it, and they're constantly having sales on it too. Now the other thing I did was I used a professional camera, and I used a Sony PX70 Pro camera, and I don't have a studio per se. So what I had to do for this commercial was everything there is my own rolling stock that I've purchased from American Models. And I have a set of yard modules that I built to go with our original club layout, but we got a new club layout. And so as a result, that kind of left me high and dry. And so I built an extra module and made it so it's a standalone. So I wanted something to shoot, decent looking to shoot on, since my layout is always in a state of transformation and unscenic. It has some scenic details, but no mountains, rivers, streams, things like that. So I took 2 of my yard modules and set them up in my home theater in front of my white movie screen. So I'd have at least a clean backdrop. And I framed everything so that you wouldn't see the tops of anything else except the module and the background. I then shot, with the exception of the Alco FA2s and the PAs, I started those out as panning the locomotive because they were so long, because I had a full ABA set of the FA2s, and the PA1, of course, is a rather long engine too. So after those 2, which were panned, and I ended up cutting those off when I edited, everything else was just still shots. And I, hung some lights up to get good even lighting on my layout and on the rolling stock. And I shot everything on the camera and onto a SD card, and then transferred that into the computer and my software. And as I'd been trying to formulate things, but as you start to approach your end product, you realize that you've got to make changes. So I went and I kept editing the video shorter and shorter to make sure that I hit the 60-second mark. And as I did that, I kept rewriting my dialogue for it. And I recorded all the I got all the pictures lined up and timed the way I wanted. And then I rewrote my script according to that and made that fit. And then I went back and found some royalty-free music to tuck under it just to fill it in a little bit. And what you saw was the end result. But overall, that for that 60-second spot, that took me about 20 hours worth of work.
Yeah. Well, we sure do appreciate it, Chris. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I know Karen really appreciates it. And I think it came out to be a great video. So thank you so very much for all your hard work.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's a shame Karen's not here because, you know, I'm a high rail guy. Obviously, you know, most of us start out with American Flyer, and I wanted to stick with something that was compatible, but of course, American Models, everything they sell can be ordered with S scale couplers and wheel sets. They carry the code 110 wheel sets.
Yeah.
And at this point, I probably have a whole lot more American Models in my collection than I do the old vintage Gilbert Flyer.
Yeah.
So I like the scale look. I like the greater variety. You know, of course, Gilbert only made like 2 diesel. They made the PA1, and then they came out with a not quite true to scale Baldwin. They made the cab too big. And there's so much more selection and assortment. I even have some of the engines that Karen isn't currently producing. They made 2 steam locomotives, a Pacific and a Northern, and I have one of each. And of course, now they've come out offering the Pacifics with the Vanderbilt tenders. And their stuff is always smooth running, regardless of whether you get an AC version or a DC version. They can add DCC sockets to them if you request it when you place your order. And the stuff is smooth running and very easy to service. I can do just about all the servicing with basic tools, just the right size screwdrivers and maybe 1 pair of needle nose pliers. The only exception being when you have to change out a motor. They mount their motors using a cradle molded into the chassis and mounted with a double-sided foam tape, and you'll have to usually cut that with an X-Acto blade and then slowly, gently pry it up with a screwdriver. But they supply their motors with the cups for their universal joints ready to drop in. So, you know, that's the only time you'll need a soldering iron and a little bit of solder.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much. We really do appreciate everything that you've done for this, Chris. Karen ought to consider putting you on the staff. You're a great spokesman for their organization, but I really do appreciate everything that you've done.
Once again, you're welcome.
Thank you. Now I want to introduce the host for the S-Scale High Rail segment, Joel Weber. Joel, welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good to be here. So I tried to get my video working. Not that you want to see my face, but you know, IT is something I have a hard time spelling. So I did as best I could. You know, like Chris, I started off with American Flyer, and I have a lot of American Flyer, but I've got a lot more American Models, S Helper, Pacific Rail, and things like that because I like the scale look. I am running high rail wheels and the huge high rail couplers, and I have no intention of changing any of that. But when I tore down my layout in the Chicago area and moved to the St. Louis area, I always knew the second layout would have scale type track, and I'm using American Models and another manufacturer's track because I want the track to look right with buildings, vehicles, and people. What I want to focus on tonight is a couple of things that, you know, translate to any scale, and whether they're scale or high rail. And if you're building a layout, you need them, and that's a couple is bridges. And if I were to have been an engineer, bridges were always something that fascinated me and would love to have been an engineer and build them. And I've got my chance to do them in miniature. So let me try to get my screen share going here. I've built a couple of bridges here that I had not previously had. Is everybody seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start. I've got two. One is a concrete arch bridge, and I'm going to show you the finished product because it highlights where I had to go. Part of the thing is this track that came around at a curve required a fairly sizable opening. And then, of course, I was going to bring a highway through. This concrete arch bridge is
We don't see
made.
the product.
Hey, we're not seeing it, yeah.
Do you see the picture I'm sharing right now?
It's got
No,
a
all
wavy
we're
looking.
seeing is your home screen, Joel. The window
Okay.
screen.
I'm sharing the wrong screen, apparently. Let me try this. Does that work?
Yeah.
You got it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm oriented to what's going on here. Okay, so I've got a curve, a track below that's curving around, and a road coming underneath it. And very typical of a railroad or a layout builder is you're trying to get as much railroad into your layout as you can, and so you're really pushing some of the boundaries. When I was trying to decide how to deal with this, I decided a concrete arch bridge. And this is what it's built out of. This is 3 layers of 2-inch building foam. I drew out the measurements I needed, set a template for the cut all 3 pieces, put them together with white glue and 4 clamps, and glued them together long enough that they made a piece, shaped them fairly well, and then I coated them with joint compound, like you use on wallboard. Sanded that, put a little wood trim on there, and this is what I ended up with.
Hello?
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Put a piece of wood trim on it. The track is laid, it's ballasted, and frankly, serves the purpose very well and was very inexpensive to build. And could be done. I was sharing this with a scale modeler the other day who was suggesting that he was struggling with one part of his layout and trying to figure out transitions and bridges. And I showed him what I did here, and I think I've given him some inspiration. In the background there, you see a truss bridge. I had a truss bridge set up on my layout in Naperville. I had taken 4 Plasticville truss bridges, built structure underneath them that didn't exist because they were set to be assembled on a table. Built structure, and I ran them 2 by 2, but I was running flyer track spacing, which is 5 inches center to center. Now I'm down to American Model spacing, which is 3 inches center to center, and they weren't going to work widthwise, and they frankly didn't work lengthwise. And rather than kit bash them and struggle and be disappointed, I decided to start from scratch. My finish product is this bridge here, built to hold 2 tracks and the length I wanted. And again, I'm not a master modeler. I'm an imagineer, as I like to call myself, and I'm a little creative and crazy. My initial plan for building this is right here. I took a piece of Christmas paper that I thought those were 1-inch grids, and then when I put a ruler on it, I realized they weren't, but I said the heck with it. But I needed measurements of how to cut my pieces and how to set the angles, since I was doing an arched truss. I did a lot. I've got several books on railroad bridges. I'd looked at live bridges, and I really was attracted to this sort of a construction. So you've got some real angle issues to deal with here. Using this blueprint, such as it is, I was able to figure out my dimensional sizes and what material I wanted to use. I bought from Micro Mart. I bought a what do you call it? A manual miter saw, so I could set various angles on it very easily. It's a manual saw, so it's not expensive. Cut the pieces as I used Plastruct and Evergreen models. Frankly, the top structure and the bottom structure, once I got the trusses done, I kind of made the rest of it up as I went. I put these lower plates in here just because I thought they looked good. I was thinking about upper plates and then decided I didn't need them. And a bridge I walked under walking my dogs, I looked up and I said, that helped me figure out my top structure completely changed what I originally thought I was going to do. The fun part too, then you've got to glue all this together. And I made a jig, a gluing jig on a piece of masonite, took some modeling wood, set it so I could create my arch. I set these pieces in the middle so that I could get the pieces going, you know, the top struts going straight up and down and true. Set my cross pieces. And then when I started to glue it up, I thought, well, you know, I don't really want to glue this to the board. So everywhere I was doing gluing, I had to drill a hole in the jig. And this is what it ended up looking like when I was all done with it. So not overly scientific, but I think pretty effective. I think a master modeler would probably have a little bit better detail, a little bit finer detail. But frankly, on my layout, I think it looks really nice and it does the job. And most people that are going to come and look at it aren't going to be sitting there with a magnifying glass and studying all the finer details. I even built these, the feet, rather than just a piece of I-beam. I actually took some pieces and did some cutting and did some shaping and put some pieces on the side. Because if you look at a bridge, you always see a fairly sizable footing that holds it on top of the concrete or whatever is supporting it. And I thought, I really want something like that. So I spent a little time, figured out how to do that, took the nicer 2 of the 4 and made sure they were in the front part of the bridge, because you can't see the back part of the bridge. You know, it's up against the wall. So I made sure that the truss and the feet that were in the front were the ones that made me happier, so they looked better. And it performs really well. It looks good, and it's totally unique and fits exactly where I needed it to fit. So I guess, like a lot of modeling, it's fitting what you need. In both cases, these weren't kit bash. These are completely from scratch. This one's a little more detailed or engineered than my arch bridge, which again is literally just 3 layers of foam and a piece of wood trim on each side, painted up with a warm gray and white blend that gave me what I thought a decent concrete color. One of these days I might find some decals for some graffiti, but right now they make me happy. And those are my 2 favorite bridges right now.
Good to me. Anybody have any questions for Joel? Well, Joel, before you get away, I want to mention your convention that's coming up on October the 25th to the 27th in St. Louis, called the S-Fest. And this is a convention that frankly, I had not heard about previously until very recently. But this is a convention that the St. Louis S Club is putting on this year. Next year, I believe it's the Milwaukee Club that'll put it on, and after that, the Chicago Club will put it on. And all 3 of these clubs get together, and they alternate years to put on this fest once a year. And I talked to the presidents of both the Chicago and the Milwaukee Club today, and look forward to having them on the show in the future. But I'm finding out that the S-Fest conventions are really popular in the S-Scale modeling field for both scale as well as high rail modelers. And this year, there's something special that the S-Fest in St. Louis is offering, because we have, for the first time, an animated scene that's going to be offered by 3 companies: American Models, Alan Rogers Company, New Creations, Victorian Railroad Buildings out of California is doing the structure for it. And Sherry Johnson's company is doing the animation for it, Cat's Paw. And this is something that will be announced formally on the 28th of September. And it'll be available for pre-orders at Joel's show the 25th, the 27th of October. The pre-order will require 50% down payment, but you get a 20% discount off of the price of the kits at the show. And then later, if you can't attend the show in St. Louis in October, then you'll be able to get the pre-order in the off of our newsletter for the October newsletter, and you'll get 20% off of the pre-order price there. So Joel, I really have enjoyed working with you and your organization and doing this pre-order for this animated scene. And I think that the hobby is going to really enjoy what these manufacturers have put together. I think it's rather a unique kind of animation that they've come up with. It includes a freight car, includes a tractor trailer, a structure, and all the animation, forklifts and interior details and barrels and boxes and everything that you'd need for this kind of an animated scene. So we're looking forward to your convention and looking forward to announcing and being able to show the scene at your convention. I understand that it'll be on a table next to the display that American Models will have at your convention.
Yes, and there'll be, there's a wide variety of products there. As you said, it's not just high rail. Yeah, there's a lot of American Flyer guys running around there, but there's a lot of folks in this hobby who are into the scale, and people like American Models, their product goes both directions, and so it makes for a real commonality. And we're not the widest, the most popular train gauge out there, and so we really can't afford to be separating into different camps. So we like that our convention addresses all. Our layout tour at our convention will have an SN3 layout on it. We will have a scale layout on it. We'll have other layouts, including mine, which while I'm running high rail wheels and couplers, if you look at my layout as it's developing, it's really got a lot of scale influence to it between the mountains and bridges and a lot of the buildings. So it's there's a blend of all the worlds.
Well, we couldn't be more pleased with the committee that you put together to work with the manufacturers on this scene. And with the Chicago Club and the Milwaukee Club having an interest, we think that's great. And we would encourage other S-scale clubs around the country to also get in contact with us. If you can help me reach out to any others, I'll be glad to do it, because it's hard to find the S community. I don't know why it is. Some of the O scale community, the HO, the N, the G, that I can find people fairly easy. The S scale, for some reason, I have trouble finding people. But I'm very encouraged with the clubs that you've led me to, and look forward to working with you all in the future.
Okay.
So with that said, I want to go back and talk about donations again for our scholarship fund. We have raised $20 so far since I announced this at the first of the show. And we thank the donor for that very much. And the donor is Father Ron Walters. And Father, I can't thank you enough for your donation. I hope that others can follow suit and also make donations, because as I say, we have 2 weeks, this week and next week. And whatever we don't match of the $500, then we lose. So right now, we have Father Walters' donation for this evening, but we need many more small donations, whatever you can feel comfortable with. And I'm not asking you to overcommit yourself, just whatever you think that you can do would certainly be helpful to help us try to match this scholarship money. So with that said, I want to go to the My Build for this evening, and that is Greg Cassidy. So Mr. Cassidy, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. I should have the screen up and you should be able to see it now.
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome to My Build. Today, is our August challenge, which was harvest. It was including farm equipment, grain elevators, hopper cars, mills, tractors, everything that you can read there. And it was being held today. And as you know, Chris Course isn't with us right now. He's out in the woods fixing up a cabin they have up north that I'm not sure what they do up there, but it's important enough for him to be there. And so I will be your host tonight, and I'm happy to do this. And just by the coincidence of alphabetical order, I happen to be the first. And these are the slides that I had sent in to Chris before I knew I was going to be hosting. So for my harvest scene, I've had these cows on my layout for about 20 years. I built a little farm scene that you'll see. But before the layout tour was taking place, I decided that they just looked a little too out of the box, a little too shiny, a little too all the same. So I took them off the layout. I went over them with some dull coat to get rid of the shine. Then I started weathering them. My wife is an Aggie. She knows all about cows. So she helped me with pointers about how cows should look. And I managed to get them all so they looked a little different and they were acceptable to her. So I went ahead and put them on my layout. And again, the farm scene doesn't include much, but it's just the field where they'd be grazing. The farmer and his tractor are there. He's feeding them. And the field is accessed by actually crossing the tracks and going up a path in the back. And this is how I had my layout ready for the layout tour. But after the tour was done, I looked at them again and I wasn't really happy. And it's important to know that you can always change something on your layout. Sometimes it takes me a long time before I decide something is worthy to be replaced. But in this case, I just wasn't happy with those cows. So my farmer moved into the dairy cow business. And he now has a bunch of dairy cows to take care of instead of the beef cows. And I found a package of these up at Mainline Hobbies when I was up there picking up some things and thought that it would be appropriate for them to replace the beef cows that I had had on my layout. So that was the last of my slides. Next up, we're going to have Leonard Davis. And I don't recall seeing him. Leonard, are you there? All right, I don't think he is, but he sent us some information about his slides. And what this is are some right-of-way structures that he built about 5 years ago. He has two structures that we're going to see here. They both are speeder sheds, but one doubles as a tool shed. This first one is the speeder shed, and you can see he's done the interior of it. And this is an O scale and it's scratch built, and the roof is removable. And this is a photo of the inside of it, and then the photo of the back of it. And now this is the second shed, which is also a speeder shed, but I think it doubles as a tool shed. And this one, you can see he's got a different workbench in there. Again, the roof is removable, and I really like the cobwebs he has on there. It kind of looks like my garage. And this is the back of his second shed. And then the outside of it. And I think both of these O-scale structures for being scratch built look fantastic, and the detail that he has inside is tremendous. He says that everything was scratch built except for some of the details inside. So that's Leonard's speeder and tool shed. Now, next up, we have Cliff. And Cliff, I know you're here. Are you up?
Wow, you couldn't have done better on that. I just walked in the door.
Well, that is good timing. All right. Let's go through your slides. If you can tell us about
Great. So the little guy on the left is a chicken coop that I went to do. Kind of had some fun doing that. Then I did a Quonset hut. Was actually really easy to do. Tried a new way to do windows with Scotch tape. Gave me kind of a cool look. And then all the corrugated is you get that at Joann's. It's corrugated paper, and this was a finer corrugate. So yeah, this one worked really good. Just a couple more angles. The hay bales, I used florist foam. Really gave me a pretty decent silage type bale. I grow up here. I'm here in the Midwest, so that's kind of what I grew up with. Was lots of silage, lots of hay baling. Not a fun job in the summertime. And this is a pole shed that I made. Popsicle sticks, well, coffee stir sticks. The main frame of it was cut out on my laser cutter, and reinforced with cardboard, because the wood that I used was nice and thick, but it was a very soft wood that I had got. My sister didn't want it, and she gave it to me, and I don't know, it worked. Gave me a good look. I've made a lot of these buildings in the past, and when I first did them, I actually used my crimper and soda cans to get that. Then I tried aluminum foil. So just a lot of experimentation. Everything is 1/64. So
Yeah, when I saw this, it looked like it was laser cut wood, and I was wondering where you had found that. I didn't know you could cut it yourself.
Yep. I got a laser about year and a half ago.
Mhm.
Absolutely love it. I was using a Cricut before, but it didn't really cut wood very well, but the laser just slices through it. My sister just bought her second laser. She spent a fortune, and now it's my turn to upgrade to what she's got, because it'll do acrylics. It'll do a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And this one is, there was a barn. I cut that. I just was kind of starting to work on it. That's cut out of, it's called Choco board. It's a water paint or a watercolor board. It's like a 4-ply, and the laser cuts through it like butter, and it's nice and stiff. If it's a real big expanse, I do have to reinforce it a little bit to stop it from bowing. But for the most part, it's quick, it's clean cut. Just love to work with this stuff. I've used paints on it. It doesn't warp with the paint. So yeah, it's something that I would recommend rather than the basswood sometimes.
Uh-huh. And I like all of your equipment. Is there one manufacturer that primarily makes these, or are these from a variety of manufacturers?
These are from a variety. Here, I live in Wisconsin. About 2 hours from me is a city called Dyersville, Iowa. It's the Hall of Fame for farm equipment and Toy Tractor Hall of Fame. My dad used to go down there and get for part of his collection. When you go down there, it's this massive place, and tractors are the big focus. And I just go down there every once in a while, and that's where my little all of this equipment came from. Gives me ideas, and yeah, it's just it's a lot of fun. I like the 1/64 scale. It's fun to work with. I got to see a little bit of the 1/64 segment earlier in the evening, but I was at my sister's house, and I didn't really get to see a whole lot and hear a whole lot about it. But
So this is the barn you're working on.
Yep. And I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with it. If I'm going to batten board it, if I'm going to just do the stir sticks and give it that nice wood look. I almost did a round barn because I go by a couple of them around here. Thought that would be a fun project too. But
now, did you just come up with this design and then you transferred it into what you could use on the cutter?
Yeah, that's the thing I love about it. It's called, the program I use is called Inkscape, and I just go in and you pick up your squares, your circles, and you make what you want. It's just a great, easy program to use. I don't know all the fun ins and outs like my sister has gotten into. She's taught me a couple of things, but yeah, it makes for you can really do some great fun stuff.
Wow. I can't wait to see this one done.
Yeah, yep.
And this is your last slide. So
okay, yep. So there's just another shot of the pole shed, and then there's one of the houses that I've been working on, and that came from. I don't think that came from the Sears book. I found this other website that's got probably 200 floor plan books from way back in the 1890s all the way through today. And I just go in and find a book that I like and save it as my favorite. And, I got 40 houses to pick from. And this one, I was kind of looking for that New England style house.
Yeah.
And cut that out.
That overhang gives it that kind of New England salt box look or something.
Yep. Yeah. And if you look at the garage door where you see that that had that wrought iron holder, that's actually done on my laser.
Wow.
It will do that fine of a detail. So I love it. If you can zoom in on those, the big one downstairs is all diamond cut. Laser just did an amazing job on getting me that detail that I wanted.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wish I could. All right. Anyone have any pictures or any questions for Cliff?
Greg, can you go back to the photo of the barn? Yeah, I think that is really a unique view. I've never seen one like that before. I really like that. That's great. Where did you find that?
This is just out of my own head. I just go in and look at pictures. This I was kind of going after that Kentucky horse barn kind of a look. But it's just kind of a freeform barn that I came up with.
On the left side, what do you plan to put over there?
Oh, that's actually going to get it's going to have a roof over it, and then it's going to have like a framing around it with a little bit of a fencing. There'll be some hay bales stacked up in there or something like that. Kind of a little storage there.
Kind of an outside area for the animals, a fenced outside area for the animals.
Nope, actually that'll be where the people go in. So it'll kind of be like tack area, just more of an outdoor exposed tack area.
Gotcha. Well, I hope that you'll show us when you get it finished more, because I think that's a great looking model. I really do. I've never seen one.
Yeah, definitely come back with it when it's done, Cliff, and show it to us.
Absolutely.
Cliff, what material did you say that stuff is again?
It's called charcoal board.
Charcoal.
But I've looked for it and I can't find it anywhere. But I went to Michael's, and over in their watercolor painting area, they have this 4-ply board that's like that. I found very little of this available online, and every place I've talked to said you have to go to an art supply store. But unfortunately, Hobby Lobby and Michael's and all those guys kind of put those individual places out of business. So this I just had left over from some posters that we did when I used to sell RVs. I had like 2 sheets of it and thought, let's give it a shot. And I absolutely love how it works.
Curious. You ever use laser board?
I have not. Nope, I haven't seen that.
I'm a fan of laser board.
Okay. Where'd you find that at?
I buy it from a place called Encompass Media, which is in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Oh, I know Reading. I used to live out there.
I kind of still do, but I still get it through the mail.
Okay.
So yeah, Encompass Media, they've got all kinds of laserable materials.
Oh, very cool. I'll take a look.
So yeah, check them out.
Yeah, because I'm trying to find some acrylics for
Yeah.
windows.
Yeah, he sells acrylics. Trying to remember what thicknesses. I don't know.
Okay.
I got some. I forget what sort of a thicker styrene from. Oh, what was the name of the place? Jerry's Artorama.
Hmm.
It's online.
Okay.
So, and of course, Evergreen sells you 005 and I think they've got 005, 01, and 015.
Okay.
So,
All right. I'll have to look.
I think N-Scale Architects sells something similar to that. It's a paper product that I've been using to simulate stucco.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was watching another video, and I'm doing a prairie style house for my doctor, and I found the super fine spray with sand in it, like they used to do back in the 80s, that texture paint. Now they make it a really fine. I've done a couple of pieces with that, and I really liked how the look was. Usually I use sandpaper for my stucco, but I thought, let's try this. And with this new material, I'm anticipating no warping on it with the spray. So
Another place that you might try online for the charcoal paper you're talking about is Dick Blick's Art Supplies. They're a big art supply that is mostly online, but they carry a lot of things.
Okay.
yeah, we have a Dick Blick out by us. I was going to check them out.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do?
Heard of that.
Are you going to cut your windows and doors, or what are you going to use for windows and doors?
Yeah, I'll cut them all out from just by design. Yeah.
Okay.
I've used Tichy stuff in the past, which I like Tichy's product, but this just gives me such freedom to do anything that I could come up with. So
Right.
it gives me that fun flexibility.
Yeah.
Cliff, excuse me,
cool.
what scale was that in again?
I do everything in 1/64th, so the S scale.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep, because I'm a die-cast collector, and I've probably got about 5,000 die-cast cars in S scale.
Wow.
So,
Are you a farm modeler by any chance?
me,
Yeah.
I will model anything that jumps into my little head.
Because I know a lot of farm modelers that would love to have a model of your barn.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, if you look at the picture on the left, if you look in the background, that's the cityscape that I'm working on right now. Building a hotel and some other stores. Now I've decided I've got to put something between the city and the farm. So now I'm going to do like a gas station and a couple little houses on another 2x2 diorama.
I consider myself to be a 1/64th train modeler, but I recently took stock of the automobiles I bought to put on my layout and realized that I too am a 1/64th vehicle collector.
Yep. Yeah. All of this started out with, I started with an HO railroad layout, and I discovered that my cars didn't look right. I'm too picky in my detail, and my cars looked wrong with the train. So the train disappeared, and I just kept building and building and building the buildings and doing all that.
Well, S-scale trains are right there. You got to just get some of those.
I got to find some space. I don't have enough room in my townhouse.
Oh, no.
You know, the one thing S-Gauge really has going for us is we have lots of die cast available to us.
Yeah.
We may not have a lot of models and a lot of that stuff, but boy, do we have vehicles.
At attractive prices, I might add.
Yeah. Yep. I go to a train shop up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They're about an hour and a half north of me. And he's got a lot of S-scale stuff, and it's readily available to get from him once I get some room. But I'm looking at early 50s into mid 60s era is kind of where I like to fall into for what I make and what I want to do for my next train.
It's beautiful modeling. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep, and you'll have stuff ready once you do get that room and can put
Yep.
something together in it.
Oh, absolutely. I got tons of stuff in boxes that just waiting to get put out.
All right, thank you, Cliff.
You're welcome.
All right, and next up we have Jeffrey Jordan, and I know you're here, Jeff. And you have 5 slides.
I'm here. Yep. This is my continuing Colorado project. And my visit to Colorado inspired me to dig out the kit for the livestock pens, which is awfully close to scratch building in a box. It's a box full of sticks and plans. And I had been putting off putting it together. And coming back from Colorado, and I had seen the ruins of several livestock pens along the line. And so I felt I really needed to push to get the livestock pen. So I got the pen together in time for the harvest presentation, but the scenery is actually coming along. It's more advanced than it was when this photograph was taken, but I am still working on the scenery. But this has got a couple of our harvest themes. It's got my stock cars over there with the brakeman on the roof. It's got the pens from the kit and a couple of enhancements I added. There are something like 7 gates in there, and the kit said, well, you could try and make the gates work. And I took that as a challenge and dug into my supply of detail associate eyelets, jeweler's wire, and pliers. And so every one of those gates is hinged, and as you can see in the photo, a couple of them are open to show that they all work, and I can rearrange them if I want to change the style.
Wow.
The sheep was a challenge because in O scale they want to sell you like 3 sheep for $10, which I didn't want to do. And I ran into a fella whose son 3D prints orcs for Dungeons and Dragons. And I said, boy, I wonder if he could print some sheep for me. He said, oh, sure, we can download a file. And then the next time I saw him, he had 34 sheep for me. So there's a decent little herd in there.
Well, Jeff, I have a question. Did you have the sheep before you built the pen?
I did.
How did you keep them from all wandering all around and getting away?
They're very well behaved. But, and then this is actually the Banta Model Works livestock pen kit. But as I said, even Bill Banta realizes that it's kind of scratch building in a box, because you open the box and it's just sticks and plans. And it is the only kit I've ever purchased that not only comes with many pages of instructions, it also comes with a DVD. Filled with photographs trying to explain how to put the whole thing together. As you can see in the center there, the loading ramp is a dual level loading ramp. The one on the extreme outside is the man walk. Then the ramp in the center there goes up to the upper level, and you can see it makes a right and a left and would go to the stock car. And just barely visible to the right of that is the lower ramp with the gate closed. It would go. So because the sheep loading stock cars are actually double deck, and you could load sheep on the upper deck and the lower deck of the car. And so this, and I actually saw those stock cars when I was in Colorado, and this is how you loaded an upper deck and a lower deck. And on the end of the upper deck there, kind of concealed behind the fence, is a little bridge that goes over the lower section, and it's convertible. So if you want to put cattle through the lower ramp, that bridge flips up. And since I was already insane enough to hinge the gates, I also made that ramp function. And then the other thing that bugged me, having livestock of my own, was that there was no water troughs. And you can't have livestock without water troughs. So you see in the pictures, I got
I was just looking at that and wondering if that came with the kit.
Nope.
Okay.
That's from the scrap left over. I made the watering trough. And you'll see in one of the other pictures, there's no animals in that pen, but in the other pen, there are animals. And so there's water in the watering trough in the other one, which I discovered I used DAP Alex caulk which dries transparent,
Mhm.
and it makes great water, at least for a little section like the watering trough. I'm
Okay.
very happy with how that came out. And so
Now I have a question. With your narrow gauge, with the cars sitting lower, did you have to adjust the kit any for that? Or because it's sort of scratch built, the adjustment was already built into it?
The kit is gauged more for narrow gauge than for standard gauge. And though I did measure very carefully to make sure that when I was done, that everything was going to, fall at a believable height, and that you can see that ramp there is about halfway up the car.
Yeah.
And the instructions do discuss that, and they warn you to check your roadbed height. And you can't see very well here, but in my modeling, I originally laid roadbed. I use the foam roadbed product because I like how quiet it is.
Mhm.
And then I realized the Rio Grande Southern rarely had contoured roadbed. The track usually looked like it was lying on the ground. And so I had to bring the scenery up to the height of the roadbed. And that's what's happened here. Is that's my first layer of material in making the scenery is actually thin styrofoam insulation, and it's raised it up so that the edge of the roadbed and the edge of the scenery is actually at about the same level. And with that, it all falls about right. And I did not want to just glue the whole thing down on the surface. And so it's on a stiff card, which one will enable me to move it around a bit, but I still have to figure out how I'm going to texture it with some kind of spray glue and some sort of turf product to give it a more turf appearance than it's got right now. But at least all the sticks are glued together. And then you can see the ramp there. You can see the deck and the bottom for the lower level. And you can see those gates that swing out. And then they have the extensions that come out to meet the side of the car.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
They function too.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a lot of sanding and filing, but they slide in and out. And so it's an exceptionally authentic model, but you can see how many boards had to be individually glued in place.
Yeah.
The one thing he did do for you is the battens was on the ramps there. Those are not individual. It comes laser cut with a sheet of battens.
Wow.
And you glue them down, and then you cut it out of the form, and it leaves behind the battens. Otherwise, it's a lot of sticks. My chopper got a lot of workout cutting up all the sticks. And also, every stick was stained in advance. And I use hunter line stains, and based upon what I saw in Colorado, I picked this color. Obviously, they're not painted, and they're weathered to a degree. And if you look at the pictures carefully, you'll see some of them are damaged because you got livestock. You never have 100% of your boards intact. So there are some damaged boards around and about in the scene as well.
Yeah, well, I really liked the shading that you got on that wood. It looks perfectly sun-stained.
It worked really nicely. I'm a huge fan of hunter line stains. I use a lot of it. And I really like the effect. And of course, the wood that came in the kit took it really nicely. And to my eye, it came out just right.
Well, that's nice.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff, let me go ahead.
Pat here. Do you think that train man on top of that car would have clearance for the tunnel if he's glued on there?
He does indeed. I can run him all the way around the layout without moving him.
Thanks, Jeff.
You will see him in a couple of weeks. That was one of the figures that I painted, and I worked from a photograph of the Rio Grande Southern with a brakeman standing on the top of a car, and I said, "Oh, I like that. I want to have that on my layout." And so he's actually held in place with a pin, so I can remove him if I want and put him back on. But And of course, the funniest part is you may remember that snow shed's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And I finished and I putting him on the car. I said, I never measured to make sure that he would clear. And actually it worked out just right. He clears comfortably. And so I can leave him on
That's
to
good,
run
Jeff.
through the snow shed.
Yeah, but I bet he has to hold on to his hat while he goes through.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch. You've even got him holding the brake
Wheel. Yeah.
brake log.
Yeah, he's got a club in one
Yeah, the
hand.
brake club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for the
it's a
guy hiding
very
under the
nice
car.
it's a very nice figure. That's an Aspen Model Works figure. And I'm
Nice.
very enthusiastic about Aspen Model Works figures.
Jeff, what
good.
kind of cement or glue did you use on this?
I use Eileen's tacky glue on wood. I really like Eileen's tacky glue. It gets, as the name implies, tacky very quickly. And so you can keep moving on your work surprisingly quickly. You can clamp it for just a minute or so, and that glue has set up enough that you can move on to the next step. And it dries clear. But that's also, I stain first, so that if there's any glue sticking out any place, the wood is already stained, because, if you glue first and then stain, it'll show any glue.
Yeah, you'll never
excess
hide
glue.
the glue again.
Yeah, so stain first and glue second.
So is
And
that
just
one of your working gates there?
Yep, both of those gates, the
Wow.
large gate in the front and the small gate leading up to the ramp, both function.
Jeff,
Every gate you see in the model functions. The instructions said you can make the gates work, and we tried a single sheet of fine fiberglass sheet. And I said, well, that's not going to look very good. And fortunately, I had a stash of the Detail Associate eye bolts or the eye rings, which are usually used to put on handrails, and they work great.
Jeff, I gotta ask you a question. Why are all the animals in a circle?
I was trying to figure out which way should they be looking, and I figured the train just pulled in and that got their attention, so they all turned and looked in that direction. I
thought they were all waiting their turn to get a drink of water, and they're just very polite.
Yeah, I have experience with horses. I have experiences with cattle. I do not have any experiences with sheep.
They're all rail fans.
Animals in pens are never polite.
A friend just showed me a video on YouTube last night. In England, there's a company that makes a sheep detail kit. And what they want you to do is they sell flock, and then you use the static grass applicator, and you put glue on your sheep, and then you spray them with this flock, and it makes your sheep fuzzy.
You know what I could see, and I just went to our county fair last week where they were shoring one of the sheep. You could flock half of your sheep, one half of your sheep, and have a guy there with the razor doing the other half.
Yeah. Actually, what I was thinking was I wanted to paint one of them black, so I would have a black sheep, for the ON30 model.
Yeah, go with your narrow gauge. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Jeff?
I guess we passed it on the Express here, but in the back corner of one of the photos, you'll see my next project it's probably in the first one there, all the way at the start. There, in the upper right-hand corner, you see there's a cardboard building there. That is a mock-up of the section house at Lizard Head Pass. And I am now stick building that actual building, but that was a mock-up to make sure I had the size right and that it would fit. And that'll be replaced with a stick-built model. It's about 50 to 75% complete right now.
Well, you sure got your practice in stick building this.
Yep. Like I said, I've always said for a long time that I'm known for buying kits, secondhand kits that other people opened the box, saw that it was a box of sticks, shook their head, closed the box and put it away. Well, for over a year, I did that too on this one. and Colorado shoved me over the edge and said, you got to put this together. And it took a while, but I'm very happy with how it came out. Banta makes some really nice kits, and it gave me a really nice base to start from with just a couple of modifications of the gates. I altered the headers, the boards that run across the top. Again, with experience on bracing boards and stalls, and of course added the water troughs.
Well, I think it's gorgeous.
Very nice.
Thank
I mean,
you. I'm really happy with how it came out. And this little set, my layout is basically intended to be a series of vignettes. And this is Lizard Head Pass. And so it's got the cattle pens or the livestock pens at Lizard Head. It's got the snow shed, and soon it'll have the section house.
It's one of the most detailed models of that kind of a
Yeah.
set of pins
Yeah.
I've ever seen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really gorgeous.
Thank you. It's a terrific kit, and with enough patience and the instructions and the materials will get you there. I really like Bill Banta's kits. I have a number of them on my layout, I considered scratch building one, but there are a lot of detail that you would need to know about this. Notice that the different size boards, the board spacing, all of that is built into the kit by the size of the materials and the plans and so forth. If I had done it myself, it probably would have been just evenly spaced stuff. And this is much more intricate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Jeff,
you.
what was that water product that you used?
What I used is what I had on hand. I used DAP, Alex, caulk, and I learned to use that from videos on putting down the foam roadbed. You smear a layer of this caulk and then press your roadbed into it and then weight it, and it dries flexible so that it holds it firmly in place. But if you want to make a change, you can actually peel it up with a painter's a chisel. And then I also glue the track to the roadbed with that stuff. So it keeps everything, the operation, very quiet. There's no sound transmitted from the rails to the sub roadbed. And so that's what I had on hand. And I said, well, gee, it dries clear and it's very pliable. So I'm going to put a squirt of it in the trough, and I could level it out a little bit with a stick and let it dry, and I could add a little more. And I'm really happy about how the water in the trough comes. I don't know that I would use it for a stream or anything, but it worked really well for the watering trough.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like the kind of stuff that can work well for small things like fountains, wells, water troughs, things like that.
Yeah, because it dries clear. And if you work it carefully, there are no air bubbles in it. And if you don't like it, because you can pull it back out, actually.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Now, next up, we have Joel, and I know you're here, Joel. You ready to go?
I am.
All right. We've got 8 slides for you, and I'll let you narrate us through this.
Okay, so what I have chosen is to work on is as-well cabins, and these are a little bit different from your normal thinking of harvest, but as-well is a little community. Actually, it's not even a community. It's just a little place, an orchard up on Columbia River, north of Wenatchee in the apple country.
And this is up in Washington State?
Washington State.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the orchard is primarily the only thing there. You pass through it, you pass through the orchards, and that's it. So as well, next slide, please. And as well, they built well, too many slides. Back up one, please. There you go, the track plan. So it's a little bit hard to see, but sort of in the horizontal up there, you can see a lot of little rectangles. And those are the cabins that they put in for the migrant workers. Primarily migrant workers. I think there are a few people that live there year round. But the cabins are anywhere from, there's 10 by 12 foot cabins, 12 by 14 cabins, 12 by 24, and 12 by 30. And I think maybe the 12 by 30s may be for some of the permanent residents that work there year round, doing other things, attending to the orchard, getting ready for the packing season and shipping season. The harvest actually occurs in primarily September, October, maybe a little bit into November. But next picture, please. You can see here as well from a long distance away. And you can see the little white buildings right there, sort of in the center. That's the cabins. A little bit later picture of the cabins when they had tan roofs. In the background, you can see the yellow structure sort of on the left there is Wells Dam, and that's the Columbia River. You can see sort of in the center on the right side. And the orchards are all in the front there. So next slide. And this is a little bit of a close-up that you can see a little bit of the cabins sitting out there. And you can't hardly see there's a couple of warehouses behind where the apples would come into. So I'm going to touch on a few people's hearts here, and I'm going to touch, the first one's going to be Sherry. So the next slide, please. So I drew the cabin based upon what some other pictures that I'd seen a little bit further away. I drew it in CAD. I drew the roof, I drew the sides. So I was able to get 6 of these cabins on a single 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And I've since moved them over a little bit, and I actually got 12 on my new sheet.
And you're working in N scale, correct?
And N scale.
Uh-huh.
So a 10 by 12 cabin, the 12-foot distance is less than an inch, to give you a perspective on the size.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next sheet, please. Next slide. So this is a little bit closer in view. I just took a snapshot, or a what do you call it? A crop of the other sheet. And the center one there, if you look up above, you see some black and white squares going across. I just put a scale in there so that when I printed it out, I could measure it and say, oh yeah, my scale came out correct. And if I redo this, I could probably get one of these on, I could probably get 1 or 2 of these on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in HO scale. So that was the reason for that. And then on the left there, right above the middle window, is I put 10 by 12 on there, so I know that's a 10 by 12 cabin and not a 10 by, or not a 12 by 14 or one of the other sizes. And then I made a little, the red, darker red stuff, I made a little brick foundation to make little piers. But I didn't.
I saw that. I was wondering if that was a chimney, but they're brick piers, huh?
Yeah, I just didn't do enough piers on the paper. I've since added more piers on my paper.
Okay.
So I didn't do that initially. And then on the right-hand side, the dark green squares are the roof that I just fold up and put in there. So this is, in support of Father Ron, this is all paper. And I did, so I just do a 2D print, no 3D, 2D, TWO, 2. So that's what I get on there with that. And print those out and then cut them out. Now, initially, if you look real close in the window there, you see the mullions in the window,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to cut out the white space in the window there, and as I was cutting it out, that in scale, that little piece running down the center, which I made about an inch wide, is so fine that I could not cut it out without cutting out the whole mullion.
Mm-hmm.
So I have since gone back and modified, and I've decided I'm going to put a shade in that window so I don't have to cut it out.
That's a good idea.
The door is a set of squares, or rectangles rather, to make like a 5-panel door.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that's drawn on there. There's a light gray lines running for the clapboard siding on there. And these are fairly simple little cabins. And because they were just put up for the migrant workers primarily coming in.
Now, Joel, when would they be harvesting the stuff up there? It wasn't particularly hot. I'm assuming just by the fact they only had one window in that cabin.
No, they start harvesting in September.
Uh-huh.
September through about maybe November if it stays warm enough and not too cold. Once it freezes, I think that ruins the fruit. But and they also have sometimes some of the orchards up there have pears and apricots. And I think they come in a little bit earlier than the apples. But when the apples hit, then and as well being out, they're like 20 miles from anywhere, and so it'd be tough to transport these workers back and forth.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure when they built these cabins, but I think they built them over a period of time, probably from the 30s. I think the orchard there in Aswell was built, or was originally planted in the early 20s, but it takes a couple of years to get the trees up big enough to get any fruit to mount to anything.
Okay.
So let's see the next slide. So this is
building.
the first one. This is the first one I used matchsticks. These are like the 2-inch match that you get a box of matches. After they've been struck and flamed out and lit a light a candle with it, I cut the ends off and I could use it for bracing. So the next slide, this one, I decided, well, I didn't really need the bracing on it, and the only bracing in it is on the back corner where the pieces are folded together to come together. So
how did you glue it together?
I used Aleene's tacky glue. Thank you, Jeff.
We ought to get Eileen on here as a sponsor. As many people use
Well, I don't think you'll see a modeler's workbench and not see a bottle of it somewhere.
So I counted out there's a total of 108 cabins up there. So, but I don't think I'm going to be able to build all of those, even in scale, and put them down on a module. I'm planning on putting it on a corner module where it's, instead of being straight, it's curved, because I would like to do an apple orchard on there and have some of the cabins in there.
Okay, so you're gonna you're gonna model part of the orchard too, I guess, and
yes,
that'll be nice. And now I saw in the track plan they also had a warehouse and a couple other buildings. Will you have room?
Yes. Well, yes, I hope to have the warehouse, because that's where the reefers need to go in to pick up the apples. Well, not only the reefers, but also they would have box cars come in. And before they started using cardboard boxes, they would ship the apples in wooden crates, like I don't know what the bushel crates or something about that size. And so they would have all this wood to come in. The wood was pre-cut, and basically all they did was sort of tack it together to make the apple crates. And so they would have workers in there that may start in June or July. A few workers would come in and start assembling all these shipping crates. And then you would have a box car come in that had the sort of cardboard egg crate material for the apples to sit in.
Mm-hmm.
For the different layers in there. And then they sometimes would have the papers that would go on the apples to separate them also. So they would have a boxcar load of those to come in and unload at the warehouse pre-shipment time.
Well, I sure hope you'll come back and show us as you progress through the orchard and the rest of this, because it's going to be a gorgeous scene when you get it finished.
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Pat here. I'd like to make a recommendation to you if you want.
Sure.
For your window, cut out your window, put in a piece of acetate, and then mark your mullions with a fine point pen.
Getting a fine point, getting a fine enough fine point pen like that, it's pretty tough. That the mullions, the vertical mullion that that separates it, and in scale, that is being about I made it 1 inch, and that's about 5 thousandths of an inch wide.
I know they make some pretty fine point pens. I know I have a few.
And I gotta not be shaky when I do that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Joel, this is Father Ron. You might also want to try the sticky label and the acetate, and print your building on a sticky label, stick it on the acetate, and just go ahead and cut across and pick off the white pieces and you'd have your acetate window. The British have been doing that for several years now, and they find it even in N scale very, very easy to do.
Yeah, I just cutting it. When I tried cutting that one, I'm going like, no, this is not going to work. not to do 20 or 30 of these things. The bigger ones, I noticed one of the cabins that I could see a little bit different view on had about 3 windows on the side instead of just one.
That was one of the big cabins?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Well, that's even more windows to cut out.
oh yes.
The name of the YouTube channel that I look at for that sticky paper method is called Chandwell, and he models in N scale.
Chadwell?
Chandwell, Chandwell.
Okay.
That'd be worth taking a look. You might find a new technique that works for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to go for something that's the quickest to do when I need to make a lot of those cabins. So, and in scale, you wind up doing a lot of these things of maybe the same thing. It's like when I do the orchard, I may have 100 or 200 trees on a little 3-foot square corner.
Yeah. Now, have you found trees that you can use?
I'm just going to make them myself because I want to put the apples in them.
Oh, okay. Those are going to be tiny apples.
Yes, they are.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Joel?
Don't forget to come back, Joel, because I want to see the orchard and everything when you get that done.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Joel. And
Jim,
now we move on to our last one, Father Ron Walters. Father, you've got 2 slides for us tonight.
Yes, this first one is a British model. The corn picker there is U.S. Ertl HO scale corn picker. Ertl is the company that manufactures. It's a John Deere. My mom's side of the family were all involved in farming, so I'm familiar with seeing the equipment. I never used it or drove it. The barn there is from a British company called Scale Model Scenery. And during the pandemic, he did a whole bunch of builds and continued to sell his equipment. This looked most like a kind of pole barn or storage barn for might find on many farms in the United States today. It comes complete with stuff for the interior. And I looked to see if this Ertl corn picker would fit in. It does about half. As soon as it gets to the cab, the cab is too high. A lot of our farm equipment today, the driver of the equipment is actually sitting at the second story level for much of the equipment. When I was a kid, of course, you were right there amongst the corn as you were walking through it, and even on a tractor, you were just barely above the tassels of the corn. But this was a paper product, the barn there, and it's cardboard actually wrapped in paper.
Okay, I was wondering because it looked paper, but I could see the thickness of the doors that there was more substance there.
Right. I had to reduce it. It's produced in 00 scale. And so I had to figure out, well, how much do I shrink it on the computer to get it to HO scale? And it's actually 87. HO scale is 87, so 00 scale is twice HO. So if you're going to reduce it, you reduce it by 87%. So this is HO scale, it's not 00. But it was fun to put together. I like the cardboard paper kind of projects. I have to obviously color the edges of the white paper yet and a few other things on it, but I got it done at least for us to take a look at.
Yeah, well, and working with the paper, you can get the shading and the weathering and everything that's already inherent in the picture. Very nice.
Next slide. This is the one of Bill Bax's. It's called the Foley Barn. And this one was a challenge. Not only is this a box of sticks, but there's actually a framework that on which you put the sticks. The tabs and slots that he designed for it, they fit kind of tight. And I tried to do a dry fit before I could do any kind of gluing to make sure I could get the tabs in the slots. And one wall that I tried to put in the slot crumbled in my hand. I had it not one piece, but about 10. And so I wrote Bill, and he sent me he didn't have time to send me just the wall. He sent me an entire second kit. So I have a second kit without one wall. So I was smart enough to scan it before I put it in this model. So I can create the second wall, I think, using a jig of some sort to make a second barn. Bill was very generous, and he didn't have to do that. All I needed was that one wall. But he said, I don't have time to send you just one wall. You're getting the entire. The tractor in there is one of Walther's tractors. I think, Greg, you had one on yours. It's just one of those standard tractors that they sell. I still need to color it. This is just stained with Hunterline, and I did get a chance to what do you call it? Buy some red Hunterline stains, so it's going to get red. And I'm going to use the roof is removable right now, so I can actually get some paint up there close to the top. To make it a red barn, but this was a real fun kit to build, and it didn't take long.
And what kind of glue did you use on it?
Alien Spec glue. I have one of those applicators that you can get. It's a plastic bottle with a very fine tip, and it puts just the right amount of glue on something, even sometimes too much, even though it's so little. And I have to use my finger to tap the glue to make it even so it fits even better.
You know what I do? I have one of those small bottles too. It has like a little metal
Yeah.
tube. And if I have to do some real detailed, some real small glue applications, I have a little coffee lid palette. You know, it's just a lid off a coffee can. And I squeeze the glue on that and use a toothpick to apply it where I need to. It's where I don't know why none of the hobby shops sell modelers toothpicks, because you could make a fortune. You know, you could buy a box of toothpicks, put modelers toothpicks on it, and sell it for double the price, and it sells.
Well, I use a toothpick also. I have two different kinds. I have the round and the flat kind, and sometimes the flat kind's the best, sometimes the round kind is the best. But I also discovered the micro brushes. If you once you've used them, you pull off that felt top or that top, and you have a very, very fine tip on those micro brushes, and I use those a lot. By the way, Jeff, Jordan, I put together one of those Campbell cattle pens a number of years ago, and they literally are a box of sticks. And the plans are very difficult. I think one modeler calls it stare and compare. And that's what I had to do for that. It was quite tedious to put together. So I think Bill Banta's instructions are far better than Campbell's was.
The kit came with like a dozen pages of instructions, and he obviously got feedback that he subsequently added a DVD with pictures of the steps.
Well, Bill does some great modeling and some great design work. I just like all of his kits.
Wow. Well, I really like this barn, Father. I just when I saw the picture of it, I wanted to hear the story behind it.
Yeah, I do too.
All right. Do we have any questions for Father Ron?
Father Ron or Greg when you use these applicator bottles with your glue, are you using the ones that have a needle point in it, or is it just a little pinhole in the plastic bottle lid?
Well, mine has it's a plastic bottle with a little very slender metal tube that comes out and a little rubber cap that goes on top of it. And I think I got a bag of 50 of those from Amazon for $7 or $8.
You know, it's a stainless steel tube. It's not going to rust on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have problems with the glue drying up in it?
Yeah, and I keep a pin nearby if I have to clear it out. And that's maybe about once every 4 or 5 days when, you know, I used it a bunch and didn't put the top on right away or something. But a pin just clears it out and then it works fine.
It helps to lay it down on its side instead of standing it straight up. And so all of my glue bottles like that are laying down, and people come in and say, why is your bottle laying down? Stand it up. I said, no, if I stand it up, it'll go dry.
That's a good idea.
That's a great tip.
I have never heard of that lay down process. That's awesome.
I haven't either. I think that's a great tip.
Now I do that with my paint bottles. I'll have to start doing it with my glue, except I'll have to make sure they're more than half full then. My glue bottles are usually near empty.
Yeah, I'm always taking my paint bottles, and about once a month I pull the box down from the shelf and flip all the bottles over to try to keep things stirred a little bit.
Yeah.
But say, Jim, I see that Karen's joined us finally.
Yes, she has, and I told her I was going to introduce her to everybody after this segment. So as soon as this is over, I plan to do that.
All right. Well, this was the end. So now the next My Build that we're having is in September. It's on the 18th, and there is no theme for this. It's a free for all. Send in any of your photos, anything that you're working on, anything that you're done with. You saw we had just as much interest in just the laser cut portions of Cliff's barn as we did in finished models. So anything you're working on, go ahead and get photos to Chris. Send them in by the 15th. He should be back from his little trip to the cabin by then. And his email is here. It's railrunner130@hotmail.com. And here we have the schedule for the upcoming My Build challenges. In October, it's going to be layouts, finished, in progress, switching layouts, dioramas, anything you have. December is interiors and the insides of buildings. And then next year, we have a couple other themes that you'll hear more about. So, Jim, I think we're at the end. And if nobody has any other questions, I'll turn it back over to you.
Greg, I think you did a great job this evening. Thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it. And to all the people that presented their modeling, I mean, it's obvious that we have some just fantastic modelers on the show. And thank you so much for sharing with us what you're building, because it's really inspirational. I mean, some of the work is just it's just outstanding. And frankly, laying the bottles on the side, I had never heard of that before. In fact, I never would have thought about even trying to do that before. But, you know, that's, it just goes to show you got something to learn every day. So thank you so much to everybody. Well, now I tried to introduce Karen Toshiba, who owns American Models, a little bit ago, and she wasn't available at that point, but I understand she has joined the show. So Karen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. You're muted, I think.
You're okay, but your voice is down. You're unmuted, but you're too far away from your speaker.
Too far away. I'm like right on top of it actually here. Maybe I just need to talk.
There you are.
Yeah, now that's better. Now we can hear you.
All right, I'm Karen Toshiba from American Models, and we are strictly a S-gauge manufacturer. And we have a full line of products, freight cars, locomotives, many different locomotives, many different freight cars, many different road names. We have track, we have road bed. We do repair anything that we make and have many parts available for modelers who want to repair things themselves. All they have to do is call and tell us what they want. And we do we have four different types of locomotives. We have DC scale, we have DC high rail, we have American Flyer high rail, which is compatible with American Flyer. It's got a larger flange on the wheels, the high rail does, compared to the scale. And we do put on a DCC plug for people that are interested in DCC, but they just have to mention it when they call.
You know, when I first met Karen and we started talking, and I started talking to some of the other manufacturers in S-scale, I came to the conclusion that in S-scale, Karen's company, American Models, would be the first go-to company if you're interested in trying to get started in S-scale. The selection that she has, the fact that she repairs everything that she sells, the fact that she can convert the old American Flyer to scale. She provides the wheels and so forth, and the truck segments for that. The fact that she can get it to you in either AC, DC, or DCC plug, and all of the various things that her company provides. If you're in S-scale and you have not seen her company, I encourage you to go to her website and take a look at American Models. And thank you so much, Karen. We enjoyed your video the first time we played it tonight, and we really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much for your help. Yep. Well, now I want to talk about the scholarships some more. We have raised about $120, I think, so far tonight, and that's wonderful. But we need to raise more. One of the things that I'm really sorry about is we're not able to have the show live streamed to YouTube tonight, and I don't know why or what happened, but evidently the original setup just did not allow for us to be able to live stream to YouTube. So the people who hopefully will be watching this later after this live show is over on YouTube, We hope that you'll see the Zephy QR code. We hope that you'll be a subscriber, be a donate. We hope that you will be a donor to our scholarship fund, because we need to raise between this week and next week the $500, and we're still over $300 short of being able to match the $500. So we desperately need your help. And I know times are tough right now, but to the people who have contributed tonight, and let me tell you who they are, because I do want to recognize them. And I'm bad with names, so please forgive me. Particularly this one modeler. I know I am going to totally butcher your name, and let me apologize on the front end. But the modelers who have contributed are Father Ron Walters. Thank you so much, Father. Like I say, I appreciate so much everything that you do for our show. Jamie Bothwell. Jamie, thank you so very much. And Michael, I'm going to spell your last name so I don't butcher it too badly. GORCZYNSKI. Sir, thank you so very much for your contribution. We really do appreciate it. And to all three of you, thank you so very much for your help for our scholarship fund. And we will be able to get this show on our YouTube channel, New Tracks Modeling. Hopefully this evening, a little bit after this show is over, the live show is over. And if you see it on the YouTube channel, I hope that you'll consider donating to our scholarship fund to help us make the match of the $500, because we have, after tonight, we have one more show and that week to raise the rest of the funds for the match. Otherwise, we lose that match. And that would be a serious blow to our scholarship fund. So any help that you can give us, we certainly would appreciate it. The kids that are applying for the scholarship, I mean, they are our future. There's no question about it. For the manufacturer, they're your future customer. For the modeling community, for the associations, they are your future. If you're going to have an association in 20 or 30 years, then the young modelers of today are your future. If we do not get them in this hobby, if you do not have the model railroaders in S scale, then you won't have an association in 20 or 30 years. The same with O scale, the same with the NMRA. So if you want the associations to continue, if you want your organizations to thrive, if you want your business to thrive, please think about our scholarship fund and help us support the kids that are the future of our hobby, the future modelers of our hobby, and the future leaders that are going to take our hobby into the future. So with that said, the other thing that I need to mention before we go to the caboose, the last part of our show, this is the last caboose we have. So if you like our cabooses, we need to have you send us some more short videos that you find or that you make of your railroads or a building that you see or something that we can use as a caboose for the end of our show. This is the last one we have. After tonight, unless we get people sending in other videos, we won't have any more cabooses. So Pat, if you can play our caboose, please. I hated to beg as much as I did tonight. I try not to do it any more than I absolutely have to. We just need some help. It may surprise some people to know that we've been doing this show now once a week at least. In some years, we've done it twice a week, but at least once a week. We've been doing this for going on 5 years now. And the scholarship program, this is our really second year that we're into this. And Jeff Jordan and his law firm were kind enough to volunteer and to donate their time and expertise to get us the 501c3. And the clubs and the organizations in the hobby have given us space and given us tables and electricity and chairs and all the help they possibly could, free, in order to promote our scholarship program. And you, the viewers of the show, whether it's on YouTube or Zoom or however you see it, or the people that read the articles that we put out, your donations are what allowed us for the first year to give 3 $2,000 scholarships. This second year, because we had more modelers apply and we could accommodate with the scholarship funding that we raised the first year, we want to raise even more money. We want to help as many of the young people as we possibly can. We are the only organization out there doing this. No one else is doing it. The NMRA National decided that they didn't want to support this effort. The Association of Escagers organization decided they didn't want to support this. So we went to the local clubs, and we're going to the local regions and the local divisions and the local organizations that are the lifeblood of this hobby, and begging, and trying to get as much funding for the kids as we possibly can. I'm not aware of any major effort by any organization out there to really attract the youth to our hobby. Now, there may be organizations out there doing wonderful work, and if they are, please let me know. I'll write about you in the articles. I'll invite you to be on the Zoom show. We'll give you as much support and help as we possibly can. Because folks, if we don't get the young people involved, if we don't get them to want to become model railroaders at some point early in their life, after they become settled in their careers, settled in their home, in their 40s, they're probably not going to return to the hobby, which is what most of us older people in the hobby did. We were in it as younger people. We came back to it in middle age, and now older people, we are the hobby. We are the modelers. We are the mentors. We're the people that are trying to come up with ideas to keep our hobby going in the future. Is the scholarship the greatest idea in the world? Probably not. But it's the best that I could come up with at the time. I think it's worth it. I think that the kids are interested in it. We know that the kids that we awarded the money to last year, the 3 $2,000 scholarships, are just top notch, both modelers as well as model railroaders. They're exactly the kind of people that are going to build our hobby in the future. Please, I know it's tough times. I know money is tight. If you can see your way clear, please help us with this. If you have a better idea, if you have an idea that we should consider, in addition to the scholarship, to try to bring more young people into our hobby, let me know. My email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. We're willing to try anything in order to accomplish this goal, because the goal, at the end of the day, I talk to clubs all the time that are losing members through death. They're getting smaller because the young people aren't joining. Folks, if we can't get the young people to join us, to come into our hobby, to be accepted as equals to us in our hobby's in real trouble. Please take a look at our scholarship. You can go to our website, newtracksmodeling.com. It's got all the information that you possibly need. We tell you everything about the scholarship, the people that are involved in it, where the money is going, everything that you care to find out is on the website. Please take a look at it. If you can contribute, please do. We desperately need your help in order to help the kids, which are the future of our great hobby. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'll try not to do this again for quite a while, but I hope that you understand how strongly I feel about this and how much effort a lot of volunteers are putting into this to make it successful. Thanks for being here. Happy modeling to you until next Wednesday. See you then. Don't forget to send us some caboose video.